5 acres in Lewis County, Washington. My name's Miles McLaughlin here at Wilco Land, rolling out a new property with you here today. This property location is something special. It's in Morton, Washington, so it's on the way to Packwood, Mount Rainier National Forest, and you're right next to Mayfield Lake and Riff Lake. So, I'll pull up the location on a map just to give you an idea of what we're looking at, but this is really a premium property that we've picked up here. Easy road access. There's a secondary option for a driveway in a different spot. I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in this video. Mostly in this video, what I'll cover is I'm going to talk about the property on a high level. I'm going to go over common questions. I'm going to talk about utilities, development, who the target audience might be, how you can go view the property on your own, and go through the survey maps and things like that. We've also done a few preliminary projects to ensure that this property should be buildable. So kicking this off with a disclaimer, this isn't legal advice. This isn't real estate advice. This is me simply sharing my thoughts and opinions from my own due diligence and my research on this property and my experience in the industry. You as a buyer need to conduct your own due diligence. We sell all of our property as is. You got to make sure it's the right fit for you. I'm here to have a conversation about it if you're having trouble with that. So we can see the photos. I want to talk about the location quick. Then I'm going to dive into target audience, potential uses. And then at the end of the video, I had a preliminary wetlands study done, and I had a geotech go out here and do a study too. I want to share some of that with you too at the end of the video. So sit back and relax. Number one, I want to show you the property location. This is a major selling point of the property. We're about 40 minutes from Centralia. We're right next to Mayfield Lake and Riff Lake right here. These are beautiful, beautiful parts of the country. You can even take a peek at the viewing point right here. You can see the type of country that we're in, right? This is the part of the country you're in. I mean, this, like I said, a special part of the United States here. And so there's only so much availability in this area, right? And here's our property right here between Morton and Bremer. We're actually right next to this Tilton River State Park, and there's even street views. So if I plug in the GPS coordinates of our property, there's even street views. So we're located right here. You can even just hop down on street views and take a peek at this. Look at that. You can go down on street views and you can see what it looks like right there. You could go a little bit further if you wanted to. You're right next to that state park on the river there. So you've got access to the Tilton River. So if you go a little further, you can see where we're at. But for those of you who know this area, this is a really, really, like I said, cool part of the country. You're really close to Packwood, Washington, and you're about 40 minutes from the entrance of Mount Rainier National Park. So you're really close. Like I said, if I do the coordinates to Mount Rainier National Park, check it out. So this property is 35 miles from Mount Rainier National Park. So, and then if we go Packwood, I mean, you're really close to Packwood, Washington too. And that's a really cool town. There's a ski area right there as well. So you can take a peek at that. You're about 44 minutes away. And really, you're not too far away from like Centralia, Olympia, places like that. So if you are looking to work in town, you're not too far away. Even Tacoma, Washington is going to be pretty close. So that's what I like about this property is the proximity to everything. You're in the woods. You're next to the lake. This would be a really cool landing point for maybe a vacation home. You maybe store your boats there. You drop them in at Mayfield or Riff Lake. It's a place you can go hiking in Mount Rainier. You can go skiing in Packwood or hiking in Packwood, Washington. So you've got access to the Cascade Mountain Range at your fingertips. And that's a major selling point. So, let's talk about the property location a little bit more on a map. And I want to pull up my favorite app for land viewings, and I can show it to you in satellite imagery here too. First, we'll get to the viewings in a second. But you can take a peek. You've got Tilton River State Park. They've got a photo there. So across the street, you've got access to the river. In front of you, like I said, we can get on street views and take a peek at what we're looking at. What are we buying? What's the land look like? It's a nice property on the front end. The neighbors have put driveways in on this highway. So, we'll talk about access here in a second. I want to show you what the property looks like on satellite imagery. This is what it looks like. These neighbors have put in driveways. There's 2 of them, it looks like, off the main road. So there's a possibility a person could put a driveway in off this main road. That's a possibility. Obviously, you as a buyer, like any land development, you got to work with the county, you got to get the approvals, you got to go through that process. That's part of, developing and building on property. But you can see a lot of people have gotten approval for turnoffs on the highway. Okay. So number one, access is off the highway. Number two, there's actually an easement that comes through right here to access a property. So there's an easement through here. I'm going to pull up the survey map and the plat map here in a second to show you what I'm looking at. Okay. So this is a property. I mean, it's mostly flat. There's some elevation. So if I do this, there's a little bit of elevation in the back. And we can look at it here on Onyx Maps too. See if I can take a peek. So this is the property on Onyx Maps. This is our 5-acre lot. I've kind of got it outlined. We bought it from the neighbors, just an FYI. So if you're looking at Onyx Maps and you see all of it put together as one property like this, it's because these are 2 legal lots. We purchased this front property here. So that's why I had it drawn out for you, to give you an idea of really what you'd be buying. It's about something like this, right? Comes down like that, about 5 acres. Okay. And let's look at the topography of the property really quick. That's always helpful for folks. So I want to show you the topography here, really pretty gently sloping. You've got a little bit of slope in the back of the property, but for the most part, it's a gentle slope upward on the property. And that'll come into play here when we talk about the geotech report too. And this is that little dotted line is this easement. You can see that there might be an old 2-track underneath this tree canopy. Onyx Maps is picking up something here. See this little 2-track dotted thing that comes in off between these 2 properties? That's actually an easement. So I'll talk about that right now. So number one, here's our property. We're lot 6. Okay. This is a property we're selling. You obviously have access off the highway. That's option number one. If you can get approval to build a driveway in off the highway, that's a least path of resistance, I think. That's easy. Other people have punched it in. You've got to go through the county. You're probably going to need a wetlands biologist, environmental people, and all this stuff, right, to get your driveway in. But it's Lewis County, Washington. It's one of the best counties to work with for development. The other access route that you have this is actually an easement. So the easement that I was talking about, you'd come in off this road right here, and you come in through over here. Okay, so this easement comes in. So here's the main road. Here's that secondary road. Then there's an easement that comes in between lot 1E and lot 2E. Okay, so it's a 60-foot wide easement. Okay, so this is going to bring you to a nice building section on the property too. This is the most preferred building section on the property. And the reason I say that is because we originally had a wetland study done, a preliminary wetlands report. And so I'll share that with you now as a good time to talk about it. So if I zoom in, development within flatter part of the north of the property may be difficult, cost prohibitive given the active hydrology. So there's some hydrology in this area. Okay. That's not unnormal. This is Washington State. There's ways to mitigate that. There's ways to put fill in. There's ways you can work with the county to potentially still put a driveway in through the front of the property, right? This neighbor has been able to put a driveway into their property. Maybe you can talk to your neighbor about a shared driveway, but then you're crossing some sort of creek, it looks like, a visible stream, okay? And he's got the definition. You can ask our sales team for this document, but there's a visible stream going through this eastern border of the property, okay? Coming down from the mountain, right? Which is a cool feature of the property. And I think he's talking about a 75-foot stream buffer. Counties often will issue variances, make you only be 25 feet away or 50 feet away from that street buffer. It just depends. This is all part of the development process, right? Working with engineers, working with the right people, the right skill sets to get your development plans approved, okay? And so they're outlining that on the property too. But, what the wetlands study showed us was, hey, there's this huge area on the western side of the property. There's no issues with this western side of the property, except will require critical area buffer impact. So he's saying, the wetland specialist is saying, hey, there's this huge area that's undisturbed. You can develop here. There's no wetlands. There's no buffer zones. There's nothing. That's more than half the property, right? And the reason this easement comes into play is because if you don't get approval to put a driveway in through the front of the property, you have access to put a driveway in here. And where this driveway brings you is going to be a great potential building site, right, on the property. So again, this is a summary of a preliminary wetland study that we did. We're happy to share it with those interested. This is just the first step towards development. Obviously, more will need to be done before submitting your building plans, but this is a really good look, some of the preliminary studies that have been done on the property, right? It doesn't mean you can't put some sort of driveway in off there into this nice building site off the front of the property. It just means you're going to have to go through more hoops. You're going to have more studies done. You're going to have to have a plan to mitigate it. So, that's something I can't guarantee. Maybe it's a culvert, whatever it is, work with a professional on that. That's not my expertise, is not development. Contact engineers, contact wetland specialists. That's something they can work on with you. Your alternative option is to access it from here. And quite frankly, some people may want to access the property from right here, right? The next thing we did is, he had mentioned contacting a geotech, make sure that, a geotech, gets an eye on this too. So we did that as well. And just contact our sales team if you want us to send this to you. But we did a preliminary site development feasibility. I won't go through the whole thing with you guys, but basically the summary, based on the preliminary evaluation review, it is in our opinion that the proposed residential development may be feasible from a geotechnical standpoint. However, further analysis and geotechnical evaluation is necessary. They're going to say that no matter what, until you get to the final conclusion and you pay the geotech, what they need to complete these results. We just did preliminary studies. So whether it's wetlands or geotech, nobody's going to give you this guaranteed, yes, you can build based on a preliminary study. What we're looking for is, hey, yeah, there's about a 99% chance everything's going to check out fine. We're going to need to do more studies, but on the surface, it's in our opinion that residential development should be feasible here, or may be feasible, right? We wanted to get this stuff on paper to show you, hey, this property in all should be buildable. Unless you come into some unforeseen roadblock, this is a buildable, developable property, right? It's Washington, right? There's a lot of regulation. There's a lot of environmental regulation. So you're going to have to go through those steps to develop. But whether you buy this property or something else, you're going to have to do that no matter what. And that's just part of land development. So engineering companies, geotechs, wetland specialists, even if you have a builder, they're going to know where to start. They're going to know how to submit those plans to the county and help you with that development process. Now, if you wanted to just use a property to park a camper or an RV, heck, nobody's stopping you from putting down some gravel and parking your camper or RV, right? It could also be used as a recreational land investment too. So for those of you viewing the property, we do share the GPS coordinates in the listing. Make sure to use an app like Onyx Maps or something of that nature. You can go access a property anytime. Feel free to walk it. You can go check out this easement. Like I said, it comes right in off this road, Dodge Road, that comes in right here, and your easement would come in through here. So that gives you an idea. There might be a 2-track or an old walking trail that goes back to the property, or this easement may have never been used. So when it comes to development, those are two options. You can put your driveway in, or you have the potential to put a driveway in from State Route 508, the highway here, or you can come in off that easement, talk with an excavator, and put a fresh driveway in up to a nice building site on the property right here. That sums up the property in a nutshell. If you have questions, reach out to us. I do have another riverfront property I want to share with you really quick on the Cowlitz River over in Randall, Washington. Take a peek at our website. We sell a lot of land across the country, trying to focus on unique and epic land investments. Again, our sales team can send you over any of those preliminary studies that we've done on the property. I'm happy to have a high level conversation about anybody who wants to view the property or just have that higher level conversation before buying something here. So again, this would be the property. We have a riverfront property in the Cowlitz too. For anybody interested, this would be a really fun recreational property as well. So thanks for tuning in. I know the video ran a little bit longer than usual, but hopefully that was helpful in understanding this land investment.